Though it's only been less than a month since Pieces of Her debuted, the series has been very well received by viewers and critics alike. The mystery show starring Toni Collette and Bella Heathcote is based on the best-selling novel of the same name by Karen Slaughter. Fans have been questioning whether the series will get a second season, especially since the ending was left open. Keep on watching as we discuss whether the series will be renewed and much more. Will the show be getting a second season? This 8-episode series shows the story of Andy, who begins to uncover the dark past of her mother, Laura, played by Collette. After a violent shooting takes place in their small town, both Andy and Laura's lives are thrown into chaos. We follow Andy as she puts together pieces of her mother's life with her own to uncover the truth. As we know, it hasn't been very long since Pieces of Her on Netflix, but the viewership data is already pretty good. The series was one of the most popular shows on the streaming service, having over 53 million hours viewed. The popularity and numbers are something Netflix always considers when renewing shows. So at least in terms of stats, the future is looking bright for this adaptation. The series is based on a novel and is stuck to the source material for the most part, but the book by Slaughter is a standalone, so the show doesn't really have any more source material to adapt. Though the ending was different from the book and open-ended as well, this might indicate the show going down its own path. Chances for a renewal have been looking good, but Netflix hasn't given any updates yet. What would be the plot for season 2? The modified ending shows a standoff between Laura and Nick, where Nick gets framed by Laura for a crime he didn't commit. The ending in the book was much more definite and didn't really leave much room for the story to be continued. But in the show, Nick's fate is unknown, and there's also Jasper, who we see blackmailing Laura while she's trying to get back to living a normal life again. There is a lot of potential for the plot to continue in the show and pick up the threads left in season 1's ending. Showrunner Charlotte Stout, in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, explained that though the show started as a limited, somewhere along the line the plan changed and it became a series. The showrunner believes that the decision was made by Netflix and that there is a lot more of this story to tell as she purposely started building it to be that way. She made sure that there were some openings for it to continue if it ended up finding an audience. Who will be returning for season 2? If the series does end up getting renewed, which is expected, Collette as Laura and Heathcote as Andy would almost definitely be returning. Aaron Jeffrey as Nick and Jacob Scipio as Michael Vargas are also very likely to be a part of the second season, as they both have important roles in the story. But Gil Birmingham as Charlie Bass will not be coming back unless they decide to do a flashback scene. When will the next season be released? Provided the second season is confirmed and they start filming for this year, we could expect to see the next season in the latter half of 2023. This would make sense considering the first season started filming in January 2021 in Australia and then premiered in 2022. Pieces of Her ending. What happened? The setup. If you're confused about what really went down in the ending of Pieces of Her, you're definitely not alone. Concluding psychological dramas that are twist-heavy isn't easy, and there are a lot of details you miss when you watch them the first time around. The same is very much true for Pieces of Her, as there was so much dark backstory to unravel in the last episode. Throughout the show, we find out that the former concert pianist, Jane Queller, took on the new identity of Laura Oliver after she entered witness protection, so she could testify against an ex-cult leader, Nick. Ahead of the ending, we already knew that Martin was killed by Grace, who was a member of Nick's cult, but in episode 8, we get the full picture of what actually took place that day. The finale starts off with Laura getting a mysterious phone call from Nick, who had kidnapped Andy and murdered their family friend, Charlie. Nick demands that Laura come to him and deliver something extremely important. This turns out to be an audio recording, which shows a conversation between Nick and Laura's brother, Jasper. The pair can be heard arranging a stunt at the Oslo conference where Martin was killed, implicating them in his death. Nick wants the recording to hold over politician Jasper's head in return for a pardon, as he's been on the run for years. But when it comes to the conference shooting, Nick says that he didn't give Grace the gun, only a handbag with red dye in it. But before he can get Laura to admit anything, Andy realizes that he was the one that caused her car crash. She lashes out at Nick, and in the chaos, a fire breaks out. They all make it out, and Andy stops Laura from shooting Nick just in time for the police to arrive and arrest him. The tape ends up getting burned in the fire. But wait, there's more. After they're back home, Andy struggles to accept her mother's past, while Laura is angry that Andy didn't let her kill Nick. This is when the truth about the conference is revealed as Andy realizes that Laura switched bags with Grace. Laura pours her heart out to Grace before the conference, telling her about her father's controlling ways and about him trying to harm her unborn baby. Grace sympathizes with her and agrees to her new plan of killing Martin. But this shocking twist wasn't enough. We also find out that Jasper is listening in on Andy's conversations, and after he's told about a phone call Andy makes to Mike, he realizes that he now has something major to hold over his sister. If the series is announced to have another season, we can't wait to see how they build on this open ending. Other related news, Pieces of of Her, Jacob Scipio teases possible season 2. Jacob Scipio plays Michael Vargas in Pieces of Her, a U.S. Marshal who becomes one of the few people that Andy can trust. Scipio, in an interview with Hollywood Life, spoke about a possible second season and said he really hopes the season gets renewed because he had an incredible time filming. When it comes to his character Mike, they're only scratching the surface, and there are a million directions you could take a character who hasn't been developed much yet. He also shared his thoughts about the romantic relationship between Mike and Andy, who share a kiss in episode 4. He explained that when people are put in chaotic or traumatic experiences together, they form a bond that will always be there. That's the situation with Andy and Mike. They're connected by what they've been through together. And whether it's in a platonic or romantic context, that will always be there. But the actor does think there's unfinished business between the two characters. Bella Heathcote believes Andy is relatable. When Pieces of Her star Bella Heathcote was asked about why she chose to play the character of Andy, she explained that like her, she also has had periods of her life where she felt quite lost. The story opens with Andy getting dumped by someone on her 30th birthday, living at home with her mom, and being stuck in a job she doesn't like. She doesn't feel good about herself, and her behavior and choices really push the idea that she isn't enough, which is something Heathcote definitely relates to. She also revealed that even though she's Australian, she wanted to try doing a southern accent for her character, who grew up in coastal Georgia. But the director, Minky Spiro, and the series creator, Charlotte Stout, decided that she should keep her accent more general since Andy had been living in New York for a while anyway. Toni Collette admits that her 40s were difficult for her. Toni Collette, who you can catch the latest of on Pieces of Her, recently reflected on aging ahead of her 50th birthday coming in November. Speaking to Stellar magazine, the Australian actress admitted that she had to deal with a lot of struggles in the past decade and is looking forward to starting a new chapter. She explained that her 40s had proved to be psychologically difficult, and it had been a treasure trove of life lessons and opportunities. She now feels like she's really at home within herself. So as opposed to how the rest of us would normally feel hitting 50, she's actually pretty excited. According to her, that's why older female actors are soaring. As they grow older and understand themselves, they also start accepting who they are. They don't have anything to lose or hide, no approval to seek. They just have the art of acting to share with others. Collette definitely knows what she's talking about, as she's no stranger to portraying complex older characters on screen. From Hereditary, Pieces of Her, and her upcoming series, The Staircase, where she'll play her darkest role yet, she certainly has the resume to back it up. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on the changed endings for Pieces of Her? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.